Hello and welcome. If you are viewing this recording, it is because we have either expressed an interest in you based on having viewed your resume or having some other interaction with you, or it's because you have approached us and we're curious about the possibilities of launching a career with American Senior Benefits. So for whatever the reason might be, we want to say welcome. My name is Matt Peterson. I'm the regional manager for the state of Georgia, and I will be hosting you for the next few minutes. This particular presentation is a quick glance or a first look at some of the 30,000 foot pieces of information and benefits that you might be curious about. It's also going to contain some things which might create a disinterest in you in the career that we're offering. So either way is fine. And so without further ado, let me just go ahead and get started. This is a professional, lucrative, fulfilling, freeing, satisfying, and above all else, predictable, stable, and guaranteed income insurance career. And that's a mouthful. That's a lot of things to say. But in this short presentation, you will get a quick glance at some of those things. And if you'd like more information, I'll show you how to get that information at the end of the presentation. You'll see over there on the right, you have, if you're looking, Mark Cuban right there, if you're looking for the next big thing and you're looking where everyone else is, you're looking in the wrong place. And so you are likely, if you're doing due diligence on the possibilities of engaging in an insurance career, chances are you're going to be exposed to a number of possibilities. There are a lot of different broker shops, MGAs, FMOs, IMOs, and different things out there. And but one thing you want to do is make sure that you keep your eyes and ears open for the opportunity to create financial independence in your life through a fulfilling, lucrative, freeing, and satisfying career. I think it was Yale that did a study, and Yale's always doing these really, really odd studies. I found over the years I've kind of followed them. One of the studies they did was, and I believe it was Yale. It may not have been Yale. But they determined through the course of this particular study that the average person gets 2 opportunities in life to create true financial freedom or financial independence. And the interesting thing about this particular study was that they also discovered that most people, nearly all people, statistically, miss both of those 2 opportunities in life for one of 2 reasons, or both. The first is that when the opportunity came rolling along, the person didn't recognize it. So they had not engaged in a life path that would bring them to the point where they would actually see the opportunity when it passed by them. While other people might have seen it, they didn't see it. So the second one was they might see it, but the second thing is that they were not prepared to take advantage of it. And so that means that either A, they hadn't saved the money necessary to buy into the opportunity. They had not engaged in personal development through many years necessary that would enable them to be able to take advantage of the opportunity. They had made choices in their past which prevented them from being able to take advantage. So those are the 2 reasons, but that's the interesting thing. This, I believe, and I've been a lot of places, I've done a lot of things in life, and I can tell you right now that this is one of those. If you're the appropriate person for the candidate position that we're seeking, this is one of those opportunities for you. Now, what you do with it, completely up to you. Let's go ahead and get started with me. Let's get me out of the way. I think a lot of people want to know who's the person driving this ship, because it's not, this information is not to make me feel or look better. I don't need that anymore in my career. Not interested in that. The main thing is to make you feel comfort and security, knowing that the person that is steering the ship knows what they're doing. A couple of things. First of all, I've built 4 companies in 4 different industries and sold 3 of those 4 companies internationally as well as domestically. One of those companies was the Small Business Center. And when I was operating the Small Business Center, which was a corporate consultancy firm and a small business consultancy firm, we would create systems for companies who would pay us to do that. And we did it for many years. We actually accidentally, I like to say accidentally, but we developed a concept called the one-page business plan, where we actually set companies up at the C levels, the D levels, the V levels, the M levels, all the way down, had a one-page business plan each of them worked from. And we reduced, inch-thick company business plans down to one page, which is oversimplistic, I know, but it really, really worked because each employee would have their own, no matter what level they were, they had their own one-page business plan that described what it is they do. And then we accompanied those one-page business plans with a one-page marketing plan. So we had one page in their cubicle or their desk or their office or whatever. They had one page up on the wall that was their business plan, and that is their what to do. And then each day they knew what to do when they came into work because of the one page next to it called a marketing plan. So they had a one-page business plan and a one-page marketing plan. And so and then covertly, really, we made the productivity described in each of these two documents for each employee. We made it feed the next level up all the way to the top. And so it really gained some traction, and companies were able to experience measurable improvement in their numbers, either data flow, productivity flow, revenue flow, whatever the case may be. And it got the attention of Steve Crowley of the Money Pro News on Good Morning America. We were on Good Morning America a couple of times. We were on 700 Club. I've been on hundreds of radio stations. I've been on local news channels and different things. And so it was a good experience. But one thing that it should tell you about what you're approaching here with American Senior Benefits is that I came to this industry and saw what was happening as far as moving products to people and said, I think we can create a system that will be compatible with the fearless new age of doing business, of selling, for example. It's no longer using cute closes and sales tactics and things that, quite frankly, most people find offensive nowadays. People have advanced. And so we have systems that honor people for where they stand and where they've been, and they work so extremely well that our agents experience very much more success than what you find out there in other places in the marketplace. Let's talk about American Senior Benefits for a quick second. First of all, we trace our roots back to 1876. And it is, in 2005, we launched this, our division launched off on our own. In 2005, we did $8 million in volume. And look at the rest of this. You see how we got $16 million in 06, 07, $27 million, $40 million in 08, 09. Look what happened here. Now, do you see in any of those growth numbers a recession? Now, this should speak to you because it spoke to me when I first saw it. When I came to American Senior Benefits in 2012, I said, in early 2012, I saw the numbers prior to that. And I said, what in the world is going on here? So I did some due diligence. And I discovered that the insurance business itself is reasonably recession-proof. But not only that, I went back even further, back to the Depression. And I discovered that the insurance business is also largely depression-proof. Now, that spoke greatly to me because one of the companies I owned was a fairly large real estate company that I lost in 2008 in the crash. And I lost everything, as a matter of fact, because I was in an industry that was cyclical, and I did not have a war chest. I was fully leveraged and growing. And so when I saw this recession-proof aspect to the insurance business, I got interested, and so should you. So 2015, 100 million, will be well over 100 million in 2016. We are an insurance marketing organization. Okay, that means that we do not hold captive agents, and we don't just recommend or sell one product for any category. So our agents are not stuck saying, hey, you should buy this product because our brand is the best. No, we don't do that. You actually are a consultant, and you make your living recommending the most appropriate products for those that can afford what they need. And so we represent over 100 insurance companies specializing in seniors. That's a big deal. We're going to talk more about that in a second. Nationally, as a company, we have 61 regions and 1,600 agents. Here in Georgia, in our region, we're promoting leaders quickly. And what that means for you is that we have, they say in business, first of all, in real estate, they say that everything is about location, right? You've heard this, location, location, location. Well, in the insurance business, it's all about timing and positioning. It's timing and positioning in the business world. And so, and also who you know. I mean, there's a large part of that. So here, the opportunity in Georgia is that you have, first of all, one-on-one access to me all the way through your training period in the industry. For the next year to 2 years, you have personal access to me as a personal trainer. But the second thing is that in terms of long-term career opportunities with a region that is just moving into momentum and we're about to explode, is that your positioning is unprecedented here. So let's talk about some of the pieces of why this is a good career choice: personal freedom and independence. There's nothing out there that is real. We're not talking about some kind of a multi-level marketing thing, not that there's anything wrong with that, but we're talking about a real business with real income, with real predictable outcomes and long-term prospects, where you have personal freedom and independence to choose your own hours, vacations. We have so many vacations that are given to the agents here as a result of average production that it's almost annoying to me as the manager. But there's a lot of travel, a lot of paid for travel, for if that's something that you like. The other thing is we make a difference in the lives of our clients. When's the last time you engaged in something at work where you actually felt personally rewarded inside your body? We're talking about in your soul. I know that sounds hokey, but that's what we do. The systems we've developed to help seniors with the things that concern them and that they're worried about, it creates lifelong friends. We're talking about getting invited to church and parties and baptisms and family functions and things, because the way you work with us, people know you care and they never feel like you're trying to sell them anything. And that's the wonderful thing. So you do make a difference in their lives. Our first-year agents nationally average about $50,000 a year. Third-year average is about $100,000 a year. So we're looking for people who are who can barely survive, or who know that they could make twice this first year. Okay, we're looking for people who know that if they worked hard enough at getting a job, they could get $100,000 plus a year, but they can survive on $50,000, right? So that's the type of person we're looking for, because quite often those people have worked on themselves. Now, if you're not that person who could walk out and get $100,000, that's okay, because the system we have is paint by numbers, step by step, checklist driven. So if you have the discipline to be able to complete a nightly checklist and do the actions that are on that, that's pretty much the amount of discipline you have to have, and to be able to follow your own one-page business plan that I'm going to show you. Now, here's the neat thing. What is it about our business that makes third-year agents nationally? Now, we're talking about an average. Now, don't forget that. We're talking about 1,600 average, above average and below average people averaging $100,000 in year 3. And the answer is, it's renewals. Okay? If you're going to have an insurance license, you're crazy if you sell anything other than senior products, because the renewals are so strong. I actually feel physically bad for when I see agents out there doing various types of, they're just doing life insurance, or they're just doing property and casualty, or they're just doing this and that, because they may or may not be aware of, if they're going to spend an hour doing something in the insurance business, how about spending an hour doing something that's going to pay you 20 cents next year on the dollar, or 25 cents on the dollar you made this year, and in fact is going to pay you every year for the next 6 years. I mean, it's just a wonderful, beautiful thing. Now, with our systems that I keep talking about, that you'll hopefully have a chance to see at some point, our very first agent made $95,400 in year 1. This is a person that I met at the Diversity Hiring Expo at the Cobb Galleria Center. He got his license. In about 2 weeks, he got his license, started with me, made $95,400 for his first year. And he's very, it's been his background in management, and he wasn't a salesperson. As a matter of fact, I find that people that have sales backgrounds tend to have a more difficult time, because this system isn't about having extraordinary sales abilities. It's about having some discipline, personal desire, a burning desire to succeed, and the ability to be humble and to follow a proven step-by-step, paint-by-number system. Now, here you'll build long-term business. We're talking about a business that will retire you. This is the last business you will ever have to do, and you'll build it every day. You'll make money now to pay the bills, but every dollar you make now will pay you next year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year, so that 5-year agents can and do earn $75 to $100 per year in renewals alone before they get out of bed as a growing base of income. You'll be a full-time professionals. A few of the pre-qualifiers here. We don't allow people to work with us that have part-time jobs or other businesses or college classes. This is a full-time professional career. Okay, so You're not going to be the you're not going to be the teacher that's a doctor on the side. You're going to be a doctor, or you're going to be a teacher. And so next thing is, can you take care of your first several weeks? We have a guaranteed income, a guaranteed commission system here. I don't know that I've ever seen it anywhere else, so I seriously doubt that you've seen anything like it. I'm going to show you how that works real quick in just a second. But you have to be able to not go broke and default on your house payment and your car payment and your credit card payments and your gas and your electric and your groceries. You can't starve in the first 4, 6, 8 weeks, okay? You have to be able to at least have put away enough money, or have someone in your life who's able to take care of that stuff for the first few weeks. And so that's one thing I want to make sure that, now if you have questions about that, ask me about it later, because we have all kinds of people coming to us. You can't have any felonies in the last 10 years, okay? No misdemeanors ever for theft. The insurance industry does not work with people who have misdemeanors for theft, and no tax liens. Now, the tax lien I have to qualify. It seems like almost everybody has tax liens. And by the way, don't let a background with, everybody has a DUI, it seems. There might be any number of different things. We've even hired people who become successful that had 10 years ago drug convictions. It just depends on who you are as a person, how long it was ago, and certainly don't let some minor misdemeanor type things keep you from talking to us. As far as the tax lien goes, if your tax lien is less than $2,000, you need to talk to us. If you have a tax lien and you have already arranged to make payments on that tax lien, you need to talk to us, because those are circumstances where there are exceptions to that. And finally, please be serious. Okay, this is not temporary work. If you're looking for something else and thinking about doing American Senior Benefits to fill the gap until that job opens up for you, please stop and consider a different short-term career choice. This is not that. This is the beginning of a long-term career for you. All right, so let's talk about the fun stuff. System. When I started with American Senior Benefits, I spent a month just watching the trainer that I had do some really amazing things. But one thing I did know was that I was not willing to go into a house under one pretense and try to sell the client something. I just simply wasn't comfortable. You can call that a flaw in my character if you want to, or you can say, well, it's because you spent 20 years prior to this learning how to deal with people at their level. I don't know. But I created a system during that 4-week period that has worked ever since extremely well. I'm going to show you a little piece of how that works right here. When I left my trainer, I actually set onto my calendar 15 new appointments to go out to people's houses, to sit down with them and to educate them about the products, about the Medicare options and updates and changes and things that were effective, that could be effective for them. And that was week 1. Week 2, I set up 15 new appointments. You can see that right here. But what about the 15 that I set up last week? What happened? See, the foundation of the system is this. I would go into a home, I would build relationship with them, asking them about their pets, their pictures on the wall. I would build and warm and just have a casual conversation. And then at some point I would say, look, I'm Matt Peterson, here's American Senior Benefits, here's my card. I help seniors in 4 areas. And I say those areas are Medicare, long-term care, life insurance, usually not to help people get new life insurance, it's usually to help them to do something with what they have. But it's Medicare, long-term care, life, and retirement savings, which is fixed and fixed indexed annuities. And the way I do that is that in this appointment, I would tell them, in this appointment, I'll gather information to see what you have, and then I'll leave. I'll spend a week researching for you. I'll roll my sleeves up. I'll put my Sherlock Holmes hat on. I'll dig in, and I'll find ways that I can save you money or elevate your life somehow. And I'll come back next week, and I'll make recommendations based on what I find. Does that sound fair? And what do you think they said? Well, they relaxed, and they said, oh, yeah, absolutely, that sounds great. And so I would gather information in the 4 areas, and then I would come back. So here's what happened. Look at week 2. So from the 15 new appointments, some of them weren't home. They forgot whatever happened. I ended up with 10 follow-ups the next week where I'm making recommendations. But I also had 15 new. So do you see, week 2 on my calendar, I had 25 appointments. Look at week 3. I only had 10 new appointments. Well, when you're doing 25 in a week, it's kind of hard to set up 15 new ones. And so I ended up setting up 10, and that was an accident. But you can see that from that point on, I discovered that all I ever needed to maintain the system flow was 10. But look, from this 15 week 2, I had 10 follow-ups week 3. And then from the 10 follow-ups week 2, I had 6 more second-time follow-ups to go back and talk about other things. And notice week 4, I had 3 from the original 15 over here. I had 10, 6, and then 3 follow-ups added to the others. So now I'm actually doing more follow-ups than I am new appointments each week. I also had developed, as a part of the system, this little repository where I took the no-shows, the people that didn't show, and I took the people that wouldn't let me in, and I took the reschedules, the people just rescheduled either at the door or by phone, and I put them in a special place. And I used that special place to augment my calendar throughout the week. Now, this may not make a lot of sense to you, but I want to show you what the results were. Week 3, I actually engaged 2 enrollments from my recommendations. Now, I should have week 2, but week 3 is where I got the 2. I should have in week 2 because I had 10 recommendation follow-ups. Do you see that? But I personally had never asked somebody to make a move. I didn't even know how to say, well, I just need your driver's license. So I actually spent the weekend after this on YouTube learning how to do that. I watched 2 days worth of YouTube. I read articles on how to actually ask people to make a decision, because I'd never done anything like that. And so that was when I went back week 3. I ended up with 2 enrollments. I made $700. Week 4, I went back on these follow-ups, and I had 5 enrollments. It started to build. All right, I earned $2,900 week 4. Then week 5, I had 7 enrollments. I still have all of my reports. Okay, and I ended up with a $4,700 income at the end of that week. Week 6, 18, and I earned $9,400. So this is how, using this system, and it's just shocking because never, not one time did any of my clients feel like I was trying to sell them anything. And yet I set that region's all-time sales records. And in my third month, I was able to generate $15,000 in gross commissions. Okay, so let's take a look at what it was that I was doing in these appointments, and what it would be that kind of the idea that you would what you would be doing in these appointments. Remember how I said that we work with seniors in 4 areas: Medicare, long-term care, life, and annuities. These are the 4 things that keep seniors up at night. Okay, these are the things they're confused about, but when someone turns 65, their life should have simplified, if you will, into these 4 categories. And yet you're coming along as an expert in all 4 of these categories. Now, please don't get overwhelmed by that possibility. Seriously, with what we do in the system we use, in 90 days, you'll be a reasonably powerful expert in all 4 of these categories. You don't know it right now, and it may seem overwhelming, but trust me, it carries you there. So let's talk about one of my clients, Pat, in particular. Pat was someone I met in Georgia because when I got to Georgia, I tested these systems to make sure that they worked here like they did in the West where I started. And sure enough, they did, so I encountered Pat and her mother, Clara, actually. Now, Pat, when I went on the first appointment, had a Medicare supplement. I think it was United Healthcare. It might have been Sterling. I can't remember. But she was paying $201 a month for this particular Medicare supplement. I left her house, and I said, okay, let me do some research. Let me come back next week. I came back next week, and I said, okay, I found the exact same supplement you have now. No difference whatsoever. In fact, by law, it can't be different. It can't be better. It is standardized. But I found it for you for $150 a month. So I saved her $50 a month on something she already has. Isn't that fun? And so, is that really a sale to save someone money? I don't know. I just don't think so. But I said, let's do this. I took the paperwork. I said, but let me come back next week, because while I was researching this past week, I found something else that was even more exciting, and I'd like to make sure that it's going to fit, and then come back next week and I'll show you what that is, and you can decide whether or not it's something that you want to pursue. So I came back the next week, and I took that $50 a month, and I showed her something that we call a final gift policy. Okay? The industry calls it final expense, senior life, but we call it final gift because that's exactly what it is. It is the final gift that you give to your loved ones. It's a policy that covers your final expenses. And I used the $50 in savings to get her a $10,000 final gift policy. I set up the appointment to come back the next week, and I came back the next week and I said, Pat, you have $350,000 you told me in a Fidelity account. And I said, what's the purpose of that? And she said, well, this is what it was. And I said, well, let me show you a possibility. And I don't know what you're doing, and I can't really speak to what you're doing in that account. But let me show you something that I think you might find interesting. So I showed her how a fixed indexed annuity works. I showed her how, if you look at the stock market going up and down, this particular little graph is, what years I can't see, 1998 or something to 2013. I can't see exactly the years. But you can see that the stock market went up and down and up and down and up and down. And this is what's happening to a lot of these seniors' financial accounts. And it makes them nervous. And so sometimes they want to purchase something a little more stable. And that's what you do. The nice thing is you never manage people's money. You only introduce them to secure, safe, preservation type products that help them to preserve and grow at the same time some of their money with zero risk of loss. So they don't invest their money, they put it into contracts, annuity contracts. So here's the green line. So here's what happened. When the stock market goes up, these fixed indexed annuities go up. When the stock market is down like it was here, their money is flat. That's the guarantee. When the market's up, they're up. See how they're up, 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 up. And when the market's down, they're flat. So do you see how this is great for a senior? So I showed her this. I helped her get one of these applications done. She decided to place $200,000 into an annuity contract. And I set up an appointment to come back the next week. She also had put a little income rider on that annuity. So I came back the next week and I showed her how with that income rider, she could take care of all 3 levels of long-term care for herself. Long-term care is when you go in the nursing home, when you need home care or assisted living, when you can't do some of the activities of daily living, and you've got to pay money to people, sometimes lots of money, in order to be able to survive. And so that generally drains people's financial, that can drain people's financial accounts. So I showed her how she could have that thing that she got, that annuity she got over there, can help her to pay for home care, assisted living, and nursing home. Okay, it's the coolest thing. So when I left her house, and we're still friends to this day, but she was spending $12 less per month than when I met her, and it generated almost $20,000 in compensation for me. That's what you're doing. You're helping people to do things like this. Now, admittedly, it only happens about once in a quarter, this perfectly, okay? But almost every single time, you're working 2 categories, either this or that or that or that or that or that together to benefit the client. All right, what is the client then? How about the baby boomers? 11,000 people per day are turning 65 in the United States. I mean, it's a huge market. Remember what I said about business? Everything in business is timing and positioning. Remember me saying that? Well, look, if you're looking at what's that one thing I could do with the rest of my life to maximize my efforts, how about get yourself in front of this wave of people that are confused in their retirement? And you're there to be an expert and to advise them. It's a wonderful thing on their Medicare and their long-term care and their life, and to show them the possibility of having a fixed deferred annuity. All right, so these people have the most money and buying power. 70% of all discretionary income in our country is held by people age 50 and over. They have needs for what we offer. When we make a recommendation, if they don't take us up on that recommendation, that is their choice. But we wouldn't make the recommendation if you won't make the recommendation if you didn't feel there was a need and affordability for the recommendation. They're clearly identified. So you don't have to go beating up people in the street, knocking on doors. We contact them at a unique time with specific solutions for them, and we go visit them in their home. We may be the last true professionals to do house calls, and they love it. Now, most of them don't want you there past 6 or 7 o'clock at night. So essentially, most of our agents that partner with us here work from 9 to 5 or 6 in some cases. But it's a daytime. These folks are retired, all right? You're not working till 10 or 11 o'clock at night like the life insurance agent that sold me life insurance did. He sold me my life insurance at 11 o'clock at night, and I said, man, I never want to be in that business. These are the things that we're not. Just for those of you that might think, oh, is this one of those pyramid schemes? We are not network marketing. We're not door-to-door sales or telemarketing. There is no need for a list of your friends or relatives. How many relatives do you have over 65 anyway? There's no need to recruit your friends and family. There's no need for residential or business canvassing like one of our major competitors. Those poor folks that get licenses and go work there have to actually go banging on doors in the heat and the cold every day. With us, you have a predictable, plannable, personal, business plan-driven monthly income. And I'm going to show you that in a second. You also have the possibility of getting substantial leadership overrides, especially, remember how I said this is a great positioning opportunity for you? Well, you use our agency resources and we all work together, and I help you to build a team of people that are doing exactly what I've shown you in this video, and you are able to get overrides. It's about, on average, across the board, it's about $1,000 per month per agent on your team in overrides once you have a team of a certain size. And so it really is a substantial way to have not only residual income, but leadership overrides on helping other people to become successful as well in our agency. All right, now let's look at this. Remember how I talked about the one-page business plan and the one-page marketing plan in that company that I built? Well, this is what I created for this industry. It's a one-page business plan that you will do and a one-page marketing plan. They're very simple. It looks complicated. Please, we're not going to try to go through every piece of this. It's not complicated. The one thing I want you to really take a look at is this line right here where you have green. All right, this is the formula. So let me simplify it and just say it quickly because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it until we actually get together if it's appropriate. You put the amount of money you need to make right here. We multiply it by this number. I don't want to go into what that number is, but it's a number that will add money to the amount that you need to make. So you're going to make, let's say you need to make $5,000. Well, we're going to multiply that 5,000 by 1.2. We're going to have a new number here. We're going to add in all of your business expenses. We're talking about any marketing you decide you want to do, all based on your own ability. Okay, and there's no requirement for you to pay any money for leads or marketing or anything like that. There's a cooperative. There's materials, there's fuel, there's other things, okay? And so we add all that in and you come up with a new gross number. So you have your net number you've got to have in your household. We multiply it by the way the business shrinks a little bit during the month. We add in your expenses and we come out with a new gross number. We divide that by the average commission per sale for a brand new agent, and we come up with a number of enrollments or sales that need to be made on a monthly basis. And you say, well, Matt, how do I get that? And I say, well, divide it by this. And it comes up with the number of appointments that you'll need to attend using our systems to make that many enrollments to earn that much money. Then we divide that by 4 weeks, and it comes up with the number of appointments that you'll need to attend each week. If you attend that many appointments each week, we guarantee you'll earn no less than that amount of money, but in this time frame going forward. All right, it is that cut and dry. So if you attend this many appointments each week, using this business plan, this marketing plan, and our system, we guarantee you won't make any less than that amount of money on a monthly basis going forward, okay? Now, we even break this number of appointments weekly down into new appointments versus follow-up appointments. Do you remember that graph that I was showing you? Well, new appointments versus follow-ups. The follow-ups happen by themselves because before you leave the house, you look at your watch and you say, okay, same time next week, okay? And if you use our system before you get to that point, it's 100%. Oh, sure, absolutely. That sounds good. So that just kind of happens on its own. What we really need to worry about is new appointments. So this number over here, the total number of appointments, let's say it's 18. Well, 60% of that number needs to be new. So let's say 12. 6 follow-ups. That happens by itself. So the only thing you really need to worry about is how do I get 12 new appointments on my calendar, Matt? And that's how we use the marketing plan. Okay, you take that 12 number over here, and it says number of new appointments needed from the business plan, 12. Okay, now what about marketing budget? How are we going to generate that 12? Do we have any money to be able to market, to have inbound inquiries, people that want us to come by at the rate of 12 new, okay? Now, we don't know. Over here, you put the amount of money you had for marketing. It was your choice. This can be 0 per week. It can be up to, I think the most we've ever had anyone spend was $250. And we use this money in this these columns right here to determine how many leads you'll get from what sources, and exactly using these foolproof formulas right here, how many appointments you'll get from those marketing sources. We know this down to the number, all right, the number of dials. We know exactly how many dials of the telephone with each lead source it will take you from 0 to 6, 8 to get that appointment, okay? And we know exactly how many minutes it will take you to get that number of appointments, that number of appointments that you have written here for new and that you have written right here, okay? So the number of appointments each week column will have to equal this, all right? The number you need. So you will use your money and or your time to generate the number of appointments needed new, which will turn into follow-ups, which together will be the total appointments each week, which will provide you with the amount of money you need each and every month. That's the guaranteed commission concept that I was telling you about. Here's one of our lead sources. This goes out to people, and we purposely make them cut off this bottom portion. It's not perforated. They have to actually take the scissors out and cut that off. We do that on purpose so that they're actually doing something. They have to get up and go to their drawer and get the scissors. They have to fill that out. They send it in to us. An automated letter goes out to them with my name and my signature right here saying, hello, I'm the regional manager. Thank you for responding. 48 hours after that letter has had time to deliver, I get an email that says you have a lead. When I get that email, I drop it into your CRM box. The minute I drop it in, this email goes out from you right here to that client automatically. You don't do it. It goes out automatically saying, hello, my name is Gary, and I will be contacting you shortly. Then you get the phone and give them a call and say, hey, let's set up a time when I can come by and show you how these updates will affect you or could affect you and some of the opportunities that are available for you. So this is just another one of our, and it's automated and it's guaranteed. So you don't have to experiment with leads. And by the way, everything in here is wholesale to you. You'll see up here at the top it says 12 or 18. That is the actual wholesale cost to produce that lead. And I have spent 4 years now in this business buying, experimenting, and looking at different lead options. And I can tell you right now that if you're out there on your own as an insurance agent trying to buy this quality of lead, it's going to cost you anywhere from $45 to $75 for this quality of lead. So it's a tremendous thing for those that do have a marketing budget coming into the business to be able to have this. Of course, you don't need that. You don't need to spend money. I did not spend any money in marketing when I first started, with the exception, I believe, of my first week or 2 weeks, I bought some preset appointments. Be careful. When you're out there, you're going to interviews, you're hearing all kinds of hype. Be very careful. I don't want to disparage or denigrate other organizations and people, but I can tell you, I have done dozens and dozens of interviews with people who have come from those places, and the things that you are hearing are not backed up in reality a lot of times. There's a lot of hype out there. This is the most real thing you will ever see, and that's why I invite you to come visit with us if you're interested, and visit with the agents, shake their hands, talk to them about what's actually happening, okay? So, all right, let's take a look at the long-term goal. Let's say you make $60,000 your first year, which, by the way, up to last year when we grew double the size as an agency nationwide, this was the average income per agent, all right? And I believe this was in the Western States region at the time. 60,000, okay? So I looked at that and said, okay, I can do that. I'm average, I can do that. Year two, if you do the same thing yourself, look at the amount that can be residual, a renewal from that year one, added to your current year's production. Do you see how the income grows? Now watch year three. Do you see the 60? There's the 27 from year two. There's 24 from year one again. Now, do you see up here it says 90% persistency? That's how many people have the policies still after the year that they enrolled in the product, okay? Now, nationwide, the company is over 90%. Here in this region, we are pretty close to 100%. We're in the high 90s in persistency. All right, so let's look at year four. Look how it grows. Here's money that we're getting from year one again. Here's our current year, money from year three, money from year two, money from year one. Look at how the total increases. I don't know, honestly, I cannot tell you anything that I have ever seen as a consultant or a business owner or an entrepreneur in my career that can touch or match this level of growth and substantial business building power. All right, we're talking about, at least in this example, having nearly $100,000 in renewals alone before you get out of bed. And by the way, if you produce the same amount of income from your current efforts in year two, that you did in year one, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, because year one is the toughest one. And you took a lot of vacations if you're only doing 60,000 in year two when you earned 60 in year one. But still, let's look at it as if we just kept the same exact amount going across. All right, here are the steps. This presentation, this is a first look. So call or email me if you would, or the person that directed you to this recording, and say, I'd like to talk about maybe coming in and doing a drill down. Maybe I'd like to do a mock-up business plan, okay? That's an interview. That would be a private meeting with me, the regional sales manager, Matt Peterson. So call to schedule a second interview. You can meet the agents, you can see details of the systems, you can see them working. If you're not licensed, the next step will be to get licensed. Okay, we can help you to do that. It's not that difficult. I got my license in 7 days. Other people very regularly get their license in 2 weeks, but it does take a little bit of financial commitment, and it takes a substantial time commitment. All right, number 4, schedule new agent induction. That's where you spend a week with me, where I take you through and show you all of these systems and educate you and give you every piece and tool and checklist and everything you need to get started. And then the 5th step is that after that induction, you will actually go on field appointments, obtaining new business. You'll be have individualized training from week 4 and beyond that will be based on your individual needs. Okay? Now the neat thing is, through all of that, you will have a personal trainer. In other words, you'll actually be watching someone do the meetings, do the presentations for a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it takes. And by the way, they split their income with you 50-50. So it's not like, you know how in the beginning I said make sure that you have the ability to survive the first few weeks. It's not like you're making nothing. It's just that I want people to not be starving to death when they come to our business, because it does take a few weeks even with our guaranteed step-by-step paint-by-number systems, it still takes a few weeks to be able to get what I consider to be full-time income coming in. So as far as doing your due diligence, when you leave this recording and you go out to the internet and you Google, you're going to be looking at a lot of different things out there. First of all, I recommend that you go to AmericanSeniorBenefits.com and join ASB.com. If you happen to Google American Senior Benefits, you might see some negatives, mainly from a region in in the country. I think it's Traverse City. I don't know. But look, disgruntled people will always do negative things. In my career in multiple industries, I will always take a look at the negatives, and then I'll say, let me look at the positives, and let me look at the negatives and see if they're maybe from a flawed perception or a lack of work ethic or a lack of discipline or something like that. And I can tell you, I can't speak to other regions in the country because all regions do things differently. We're not uniform in American Senior Benefits throughout the country. Every region, every regional manager has different ways of doing things. Here in Georgia, we have no complaints, okay? And we have almost 100% retention of our first-year agents, meaning people that stay 1 year. All right, so the next step is, after looking us up, doing a little bit of that, if you'd like to actually come in and sit down and talk about these details, get a mock-up business plan, like I said, one that's made for you, a business and marketing plan, so you can actually see on paper what you'd be doing, then give us a call, okay? Give us a call, email, and let us know what you would like to do. We maintain, as a nationwide company, American Senior Benefits retains over 70% of first-year agents, meaning those that are in the business for 1 year. The company retains 70%. The rest of the industry maintains 14%. So that should say something. Now, here in our region, we're much higher. But that's just simply because of the system we use. But it's a fine opportunity, one of the best I've ever seen, and I would encourage you to do whatever you have to do in order to satisfy yourself that either A, you are not interested, or B, you are interested. If you are, and it's B, make sure you get a hold of us, and we will do whatever we can to make sure that you are taken care of and you get a good, solid launch in this amazing career.